Good morning, everybody. I hope you all had a great week. I am so glad it's Friday. It's and This particular week was the week after break, so it's always a little bit rough. I do love my students though. They were so tired Monday like everybody else, and they were good. They were really good this week, and I kind of needed that. I had some sleepless nights. I don't know what's going on with my sleep patterns. And I know that sleep is so important. Sometimes I'll fall asleep early. And that's happened a couple times, especially when I didn't get enough sleep the night before. And then I'll wake up around 11:30, 12 o'clock. Can't go back to sleep until, maybe 2. One night I woke up at 2:30. Couldn't go back to sleep. Had horrible headache. Have a headache this morning. It's a little bit rough, and I just don't know what to do as far as getting my sleep straight. I know that sleep is essential as far as healing is concerned, which is one of the reasons why I've decided to retire. It all stemmed back from that flare that I had when I got sick. And although the impact of it initially wasn't as bad as it usually, as it used to be, but it lingered. It lingered. And I know if I would have been able to rest in the initial days after, the flare, that it would have been better. Always. Anytime you're sick, anytime you're not feeling well, the best remedy, besides whatever protocol you follow, is sleep. You've got to get your sleep. Sleep helps your body to heal. Just like your nutrition, all of those things work together. What we put in our bodies, how we move our bodies, we've got to do some type of movement, some kind of movement as far as exercise is concerned. But sleep is a major component of that, I don't know the physiology behind it. It's there's got to be some. And I'm going to tell you something. As far as weight loss is concerned, sleep is important. And that I do know. I don't know why. I really don't know why. And if you know of some studies or some articles that you can point me in that direction so that I can really look at what's happening with the connection between weight loss and sleep, I would love to do some studying on this. But hear me out here. It's like, we can go to bed at a certain weight, right? And then wake up the next morning if we get a full night's sleep. And, there could be a 2 or 3 pound drop between the weight that we have the night before and the weight that we are when we wake up. And then some people say, well, my food is on my stomach, or I've just eaten. That's not always the case. It's something about sleep that has something to do with our metabolism that helps us. I remember one time I weighed myself when I woke up in the middle of the night. It was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I weighed myself. We do that sometimes. And the weight was, oh my goodness, higher than I had expected it to be. And I was like, oh, because I usually just weigh myself in the mornings, quote unquote mornings. But I had only slept for about maybe 3 or 4 hours. And I got on the scale and I was a little bit upset. And I think it was a weekend or something like that. And I was able to get back to sleep, finally. And then I woke up probably about 9-ish, maybe 10 the next morning, that same morning. And the weirdest thing was that it was back where I was expecting it to be. Because I got up that morning and said, I don't understand what was going on with that scale. It shouldn't have been there, because remember, my fluctuation is a lot wider than the average person's. Average person can go to bed one night at a certain weight, wake up the next morning, 2 or 3 pound difference. Mine is more like 7. Mine is a 7-ish pound difference from night to morning. Weird. I just don't know what's going on with my system, but it's always been that way. Huge fluctuation, huge difference from the night to the morning. And so I got on the scale that next morning, and it was back down to where I was expecting it to be. You know, just 6 hours, 6 hours later. Weird. So I know that sleep has something to do with our metabolism. I know that. But I just don't know what. So all I have to say is, if you're not feeling well, take a nap. If you can get to bed at a decent hour, go to bed at a decent hour. If you can get at least that 7-8 hours sleep, try to get your 7-8 hours sleep. It has something to do with your metabolism working. I know it has to do with healing, but it also has something to do with the metabolism working. So that's an area that I'm going to do a little bit of reading on and report back to y'all what I found. And again, if you know of an article or a study or something linking adequate sleep to weight loss, send it my way so I can read up on it and talk about it. Well, as you all know, I'm not following the Mary's Mini right now. I'm following the modified version in my small group of the McDougall program for maximum weight loss. I've been on plan fairly well. I would say that I've probably been about 85-90% compliant. Most days, couple of days, 100%. Doing pretty well. Not too many chips. Definitely not any whole bags. But I'm doing okay. Very pleased with what I'm doing. I'm again trying to avoid eating too late. I did shoot for 6 for a while there, and then some days I don't get home until after 6:30, 7 o'clock. So that has not been working. I've been reading up on intermittent fasting. That hasn't worked for me. You know, there are different schools of thought as far as that's concerned. Most of them say that it does help with weight loss. I have a hard time when I tell myself I can't have anything at all for long periods of time. I've never been very good at that. Some people have some tremendous success with it. I was watching one of Dr. Greger's videos, and he's been throwing out a few of them concerning intermittent fasting. It's interesting, very. But then every single time I say that, oh, you know, I might try that. Maybe that's my missing link, you know. And it's just not working for me. And it's the funny thing, you know, I'm doing the McDougall program for maximum weight loss. But it's so funny because most of my meals are pretty much just simply, you know, my non-starchy vegetables and my starch. And I've been sticking with either rice or potatoes. Go figure. Mary's Mini, what have you done to me? You know, it's keeping it simple. And in my quest to keep it simple, especially since I haven't been, you know, getting home early, haven't been cooking a whole lot. But man, I had some great stuff in my freezer. And that was making me so happy. I would open up my freezer and I was like, wow, got some more soup in there. Let me get some soup. So what I have been, like 2 days, I had a big container of my soup that I made and then heat up some rice and put the rice in my soup. Oh my goodness, that is so good. Sprinkle some hot sauce on that. And then I made that big old pot of collard greens. And so me and my Creole collards, I've had that every day. You know, my collards, and, you know, sprinkle just a little bit of balsamic vinegar on it. Just a tiny little bit. And it puts some kind of a, what do you call it? I don't even know the name of that. Dr. Kim Williams talked about what happens when you put balsamic vinegar on greens. It has something to do with fighting off that TAMO. I don't want to say the wrong thing. It's something about some kind of oxide or something that goes in your system. I've got to look at that again and know the exact word, but there's some kind of a good thing that happens when you put a tiny bit of balsamic vinegar on greens. It releases some type of a chemical that helps with your arteries. It helps with the artery wall, you know, the endothelial cells. I wish I knew the exact word so I wouldn't be blundering right now, but there's something about that. I never forgot that talk that I heard of his. I was watching videos one day, and I love watching him talk, and I actually saw him give a presentation in person once, and he's just such a an authority on plant-based nutrition, and very, very happy that he's a part of the, believe it's the American Heart Association, head of that, Kim Williams. So if you've never heard of Kim Williams or you've never heard him speak, go to YouTube and plug in Kim Williams plant-based or Kim Williams, you know, something like that, and listen to some of the things that he has to say. And when he talks about greens and he talks about that chemical compound that goes into your system and it helps with your endothelial cells, that has always stuck with me ever since I heard that talk of his. And then every time I eat my greens, that's what I do. Yeah. So we're in the middle of the holiday season, as we all know, and I have a party today to go to, as a matter of fact. My second one of the season. And this one has to do with some of my coworkers. I'm going to go over to one of their homes. And it's so funny. They're like, you know, Charm, bring some of that sauce. You know, they really love that cheese sauce. These are all, you know, omnivores. And they want this vegan cheese sauce. So I'm going to take that. But I'm also going to make sure that I have some food in my stomach before I go. So what I'll do, and this is what I'm going to do to prepare for this event today, because remember, each event is a different event, and we usually only have about 5 or 6 events, 10 at the most, during, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and stuff like that. So if we can, you know, plan on making the most of what we can at the events, and then all of the other days be as compliant as possible, we'll make it through the holidays without gaining weight. And I intend to continue to lose. However, my word of wisdom to people around the world hoping to lose weight: if you don't gain over Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's and all of that, if you just don't gain, you have done a really good job. Because this is a season where people tend to gain a lot of weight, you know. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take some more soup for my lunch with my rice. I love that rice inside the soup. With my collard greens, I'm going to have the same thing. But I also have a few more containers of okra and tomatoes in my freezer. And I have several things of rice. I keep rice in my freezer when I make a big pot. And I'm going to put that in my Hot Logic Mini so that I can have that, and I will eat that at 4 o'clock before I go to the party. So I'm going to be nice and satiated before I go. And that's going to be the best thing in the world for me to do. Because if I end up going to a party hungry and then there are chips and dips there, you know, I'll go nuts. So, and you know, we've just got to be prepared. We just have to plan. When we're going to something, we just have to plan. And so today is one of mine. Okay, guys, it is almost 15 minutes. I'm not going to let this thing catch me. But listen, y'all have a great day. And I will probably be back on, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.